Yeah. So first off, if you are following this project step by step, if you can, what's it called? If you can create a new repository on your GitHub, so go to GitHub and create a new repository. I've done that here already, but just to show you a quick example, if you go to your repositories, create new, so you can call it the Chronicle as well. I'm not sure they will let you because I've taken that name already. So you can call it Chronicle backend or Chronicle backend or Chronicle back. Anyone, right? Is everyone following me step by step?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Yeah. So once you do that, you can set it to public or you can set it to private. Add the README, add the git ignore, search for node and select node from for your git ignore template. I'm going to call this. I'm going to do this here, Chronicle backend. You can set the license as well, say MIT license, but it doesn't really matter. So yeah, so I'm setting this to public, my own. I'm going to call this G5. I'm going to delete the other one. So once you've done that, create the repository and you would have a repository created for you under the main branch. Under main branch, which is the default branch. You have git ignore, which we selected, the git ignore template. I will explain what this one does later on, but if you open it up, you will notice some things that were typed in. Some of these things are things that will only be visible on your local machine. So once you push to GitHub, it will not be pushed as well. So it will not be visible in here, but only on your. So it's mostly used if you are pushing, say, a very private and secret information that you don't need the public to see. You tell Git to ignore it, so that when you are using a Git command and you try pushing it to GitHub, you're pushing your code to GitHub, Git ignore will ignore that file with that secret information or private information you are trying to prevent. So that's what this is for. We'll see some of it later on. But once you've done that, we will now clone the repository to our local machine, which is part of the step one. I'm going to open my VS Code. So if you have your VS Code, open a new window. So I'm going to open a new window here. And I'm going to move this so it's visible for you guys to see. So this is my VS Code. I've opened a new window. And if you open a new window, it's either you have a welcome screen or you have this blank screen. I have disabled my welcome screen. Are you there? Is everyone there?
Yes, sir.
Good.
Yes, sir.
Now, yeah. So now let's clone the repository. So I'll go back. I'm going to click on code. I'm going to copy this. I'm going to click on clone repository by the side. under the repository URL, resource, I'm going to paste that link, and I'm going to click on the first one, clone from URL. So don't click on clone from GitHub or clone from Amazon Code Catalyst. Just click on the first highlighted one, clone from URL. So I'm going to click on this. It's going to open up a document for me. I'm going to privacy. I'm going to cut this out from the recording though, but I'm going to post this under my document. And once you've done that, you have it open up this modal for you. Would you like to open the clone repository? You click on open, and you would have what you have on GitHub will be what you have here. So if you don't understand anything or you need clarification on anything, please do stop me and ask. So for those who don't know difference between who first time using GitHub and Git, you see the similarity, right, from what you have in GitHub and what you have here. So what this did is just take what you have here. It's like a copy of your folder of what you have here and brought it down to your local computer. So from your local computer, you can access these documents, these files here, right? Okay. So the next step will be to set up. With step one, we've created the GitHub repository, we've cloned it to our system. The next step will be to set up the project, right? We need to set up our node project now. So to set up our node project, is either you open up your terminal or if you're on Mac, you open up your command line tool. But if you're opening up your terminal, for instance, or command line on if you are doing this, the directory is on my global, it's like my global directory right now. So you would have to go into this project directory, this very project directory through your command line before you can be able to set up a node environment for this project. So you are setting a node environment for this project. If you are going through a command line or terminal, you would have to enter this project directory. So it's like entering this folder from your command line, which you would have to cd into a lot of things. So if I say ls here, I see I'm in the global directory where I have desktop, documents, downloads, library, and the rest. And Chronicle backend is not here because it's inside of, I downloaded it inside of documents, right? So if I want to access this folder and all of these files from my terminal, I would have to enter into the directory that contains the code. So that would be me going into cd into document, and then under document, I can then access, for instance, from that document, I can then access, call this out soon for privacy reasons. But on that document, I can then access Chronicle backend. Now you see Chronicle backend here. I then cd into Chronicle backend. And now I'm inside of Chronicle backend. Right. So now I'm inside of Chronicle backend. I'm inside of this folder now. And if I try to access what is inside this folder, I can see license, I can see readme. Gitignore is not shown here because it's a hidden file, right? So if you are going through terminal or command line to set up node environment, this is the process you will go through, right? But this is too much of a hard work if you want to save time. VS Code makes it more simpler. So for VS Code, all you need to do is open up your terminal on VS Code. So VS Code has an inbuilt terminal. So all I just have to do, if you go down to the bottom left, all the way to the bottom left, there's a no problems tab where you have some icon, either a X icon or a warning icon. If you click on it, it opens up a problems tab. So they call this a more like a problems tab, really. Under it, you have problems output, debug console, terminal. So each of these has different purposes, but we are not here for any of these ones or port or code reference log. We are here for terminal. So if you click on terminal, it opens up the folder directly. So we don't need to cd into anything. So that is why GitHub is quite easier. You following me?
Yes, sir.
So yeah. So now I'm not going to set up the project from my terminal. I'm going to set it up from VS Code. So anybody have any idea if you've gone through the setup before? Some of us who have done Node. Do you remember how to initialize a Node project? Yeah, John, I think John does. John, can you tell us?
That's npm init.
Good. So yeah. So to initialize is normally npm and short form for initialize in it. But I missed something, right? So we were supposed to, before we did all the setup, we're supposed to do. So this is to do what we are going to do, right? So in my to-do list, I'm supposed to say, I'm going to create a new GitHub repository, which I've done. And I can add any description here of what name and the rest, but for time's sake, we won't go through this. But you would have to add, yeah, what name and stuff for details description you add. So I'm going to save this. And I'm going to create another task called clone the repository to my local machine, right? Which we've done. So you can also add a description of how you do it. I'll do that. And then I'm going to initialize node environment. Environment, imagine, right? And then after I'm going to install all the package dependencies. Damn, calm spelling. Dependencies, okay. Dependencies. So we've completed the GitHub, we created the GitHub repository, so we completed it. If I click on complete, we've cloned the repository to our local machine, so I'll click on complete, and I can say, I can drag this to under done category. We are about to do initialize node environment now, so I'll put this under initialize, put this under doing tab. So I know what I'm going to do. I know what I'm going to do. I know what I'm doing currently, what I'm going to do after, and what I've done. So it helps you manage your project properly. So it is a very good management skill for you to have on your resume as well. So try to list out all the things you will do. Everything first. For us, we won't have to go through that. Anyway, so now let's initialize our our node environment. But first, because for you to know if you have Node installed, you do Node version. But if you notice, I'm on a version 16.16.0, which is quite low. I think the highest now is like 19, Node version 19. So I don't want to use an old version, so I'm going to upgrade it. But if you've installed it in your system, I'm very sure what you installed is the up-to-date one. So you don't need to do this, but I'll need to do this. So I'm going to change my version to version 18. So once I do Node version, and now I have version 18.20, right? You can also do the same for npm as well. So if you do npm version, npm dash dash version, you see a version, but this is okay for me. So yeah, so I am going to clear this. I'm going to do npm init. npm initialize is a command. So take note of this command, npm initialize. So what it does next, once you run that command, is it's going to what's it called? Prompt you with some questions, to help set up your project. Right. For instance, what's the package name? I need it to remain Chronicle backend. So I'm going to click on enter. I don't want to change it. What's version? So this is version 1.1, or we could use version 0.0.1. The description, you don't need to enter description, or you can enter description, whatever you want. I'll enter description for the sake of demo purposes here. So say a diary app. So what's the entry point? The default, we can use the default index.js, which is fine. Test command for now. Not setting up test on this project we'll be doing to save time. So going to next this Git repository. It will automatically set it up, so you don't need to do this. Keywords, you can add any keywords, say diary app and the rest, diary backend and whatever. And then you can add your name as well. You can add MIT. So once you do that, it's going to give you a preview. So this is what we did, Chronicle backend 0.0.1, diary app index.js as the entry file. Test, the script doesn't have any only test it has, and test is a default string. Keywords, we see the keywords we added, the author, the license, and once we've confirmed everything is okay, just click on enter, and that's it. So if you notice now, you have package.json file added, right? This file has been added, and what we created, what we initialized at first is what we have here. Yeah, you guys understanding? You understand what's happening here?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Good.
sir.
Good. Now, before I go further, let's see my text. Sarah, what part you don't get? Sarah, can you unmute? Are you able to unmute and speak? So Sarah sent a text that she doesn't get, and she's trying to understand what part. But in the meantime, before Sarah responds, or I don't think. Yeah, before Sarah responds, before we go further, we've made one change. So remember, on the project rubric, so whatever changes you make, try to push it to GitHub. Like, Oh, Sarah, you want to speak now?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
So I don't understand from the part that, okay, I understand the part where you cloned. Then from there, my network stopped working, so I could not follow.
Oh, the part where we cloned since then.
Yeah.
Okay. So basically all we did was we cloned it to our the local computer, your local machine. And once you've cloned it from GitHub, you would have what you have in GitHub on your local. So it's a clone. So you're cloning something. You're cloning what we have online. You're cloning it to your local system. So a clone is a clone. So it will be the same.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes,
And
sir.
after that, we then did a setup. So we then set up the node environment for this project and the process on how to set up the node environment for this project, which we did. We run npm init. So npm initialize in a way, but short form, npm init. So npm init prompts you with some questions, which is self-explanatory. Just answer it, and once you've answered everything, it gives you a preview. Once you've done that, it generates a file for you, a new file called package.json. And then in that package.json, you'll see some of the questions you were asked from the prompt and the answers you gave. So the recording will be available and you can rewatch it again.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, but you can still follow up as we go on, in case you have any other questions.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yeah. So yeah, so now we need to push this change we've made to GitHub, right? So if you notice on GitHub, if you notice what we have here now, oh, come on, what is taking forever? You see, it's still the 3 files. It's still the old file. It doesn't have the package.json file we've just added. And the reason for that is because package.json is added locally. So this is only available on my local machine. It's not available online, right? So we need to make this now available, changes we've made available here, right? So to do that, all I just have to do is run my git, right? So there are several commands you need to learn, several commands you will use, right? So the most important ones, the most used or commonly ones to use is git add. So git add is the first git add dot adds everything, every changes. So if you've made changes in multiple files, what git add does is it adds everything on that file to what we call no, I don't want to go through this process, but what we call the what's it called? Staging. Yeah, staging. So it takes, there's a staging, like a staging environment, something. Anyways, you just read up on the document to explain it better. But what happens is git add adds all the changes you've made to a staging environment, something in between. The staging is still on your local machine, but it's in an area where you have only the changes you've made for separation purposes, right? So it adds to a staging environment, but then we need to then commit that staging. Yeah. So if we need to take like a snapshot of those staged changes and save it to our local Git history. So it's a lot of buzzwords, but I'm sure you'll get the hang of it. But so there's a Git history, there's a stage environment, there's Git history. So when you set up your Git, it automatically does that for you behind the scene. You have a staging environment that comes with Git and a local Git history. So when you Git add, it adds to the staging environment. When you run the commit command, it then saves it to your local Git history. So Git history is, just like every history, there's a time stamp attached to it, and there is several, information about that particular history. And you can go back to a certain history, look up what happened, the time that thing happened, and several information about it. So that's what it does. You can have so many Git histories, so many changes in your Git history. And each of those changes would have different information about them. But for us to add this change we've made to our Git history, all we just need to do is run Git command. So if I run Git command, it opens up more like a terminal window, not like a terminal window on your terminal where you can type in the message you want to attach to that Git history. So that once you go back to that history or you access your history, you can understand what you did on each part of those changes. I mean, what you did on each of those staged changes you've made. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying. I know it's confusing, but at first, yeah, there's still a lot, but don't worry, you get the hang of it. But I wouldn't run git command directly, because if I do this, it's going to open up a terminal window for me to enter my message, which I can then in Mac, you click on Shift I, and I think in Windows is also Shift I also. But I don't want to do Shift I. I don't want to do that, right? So don't do this yet. So don't complicate yourself. Don't do this one yet. I'll cancel this out. So what we'll do instead, if you want to commit, just git commit -m, which stands for message, and open up is it parenthesis? Apostrophe. What's it called again? Double quotes.
Apostrophe. Yeah, double.
Yeah. So open up and then type in your message within it. So I'll say added initialized project. Initialized project with package.json. Right. So once I do this, I click on enter. And you notice one file changed 15 insertions. So we've added 15 insertions and one file changed. Right. So this has been moved to our Git history. So now we have, for this project, we have one change in our Git history. If I make any other change now, Git add and Git commit would have two changes in our Git history. So the more I add, the more history changes I have, and each of the changes would have the message I attached to it. So it's easy because it helps, because if you need to go back to a certain history, if you need to say time travel to a certain time, it is possible, you can go back, right? You can time travel to a certain way your code was before and then make changes to it. So that is how flexible Git and GitHub kind of helps developers really. So now we've made that change, and now I want to push this particular history I just made to to GitHub, right? I want to push it to our remote repository so that it is now accessible outside of my local machine. So all I just have to do is run the command git push. Just git push, and you will see what's it called? 100% total resolving deltas and the rest completed. So once this is done, it means it has been pushed. So if I refresh this now I have package.json, which was added 2 minutes ago. So you get, and this is the message I added, right? So yeah. So if I go to commit, what this also does is it pushes that history with the timestamp and everything to GitHub. So if you also want to time travel again, you can still go back to a setting where your code was before. So if, for example, on this branch, if I click on, say, commits to commits, so this is the first history when we created the repository, right? Now this is the one we made from our local machine. So if I click on this, it takes me to, this is the changes I made. And so this was the new thing I added. You get, so I can time travel to this very change I made, even 2-3 years after. 2-3 years after, I can time travel to this and update this same changes I made here at any time. So that is how good Git make things to be. So that's it. So that's basically what you need to do. If you need to push changes, simply git add dot git commit slash -m and two double quotes, add your message, enter, and then git push. So now let's move back to, there's still a lot about Git though. There's still a lot of commands about Git, like, and the rest, but this is one of the important things you do, really. So I don't want to add any more information on that, but there's one more thing you need to also know as well, because you do it too. So for every change we want to do, now we'll do it now, because now we want to install, dependencies, right? We want to take on the next to do task. So I'm going to complete this, and I'm going to move it to done because I've initialized the node environment. Now I want to add dependencies. Now, yeah, so, how do I explain this now? So package dependencies, right? So dependencies, what your project will depend on. So what we have here is just a bare skeleton, right? Right. So we need every body to it, every thing that would help us create the project we want. Now, a lot of developers have created several helpful code here and there that we can borrow from to create what we want. Now, borrowing those code is where they created those codes is what they call packages, right? So developers create some of this code and algorithm and packaged it and put it online for other developers to install and use. So what we want to do is install some of those packages so that we can be able to use it for our project. That is what dependencies are, or packages are. So project or code other developers have built and deployed online, and for other people to easily publicly access, put to their project and use. For example, if you move on to NPM, so NPM is one of the areas where you have some of those projects. For example, If I search for, say, how to say, which should I use? What should I use? Anyone? Any idea? What should I use now? What should I use? Aye. Or say I want to pass a PDF. Say I want PDF view, for instance. I want to view a PDF, or say I want to convert a PDF, say a HTML to PDF, for instance, a HTML to PDF. Like this. We're going to go back to npm. So I search for packages here. HTML to PDF. Now you see some packages developers have created, different developers. For example, this is React Native. Anyways, let me do for Node. So for example, this is a Node package created by this developer called MRO, whatever. But yeah, he created these packages. He created this. This is a code he created that can do just this. Take HTML, convert it to PDF. Now, if I want to do something like that in my project, all I just have to do is install his package because he has made it public. If I want to do a PDF merger, I can do this as well. Take the package this developer has developed and pull it to my to my project. So I can do this. There are so many packages created by different developers that has been made that you can pull from. And you can also create yours as well if you. So that is what we want to do now. We want to install some of those packages. So there are some packages that we need. It's like a requirement for us to, as part of our setup, also easily set up our node environment properly, right? But before we do those packages, we need to use a new branch. So a new GitHub branch. So I'm going to I'm going to create and switch to a new GitHub branch. And from that branch, we can then do our dependencies installation. So that branch will be isolated from what we have here. So a GitHub branch is like a new folder with a new folder that has this same code. But now whatever we do on that folder does not affect this folder. You get what I'm saying? So if I create a new GitHub branch, all I just need to do git checkout. What time is it? Jesus Christ, look at the time. Git checkout /d. So I'm checking out, I'm creating a new branch, and I'm going to call it install dependencies. Install dependencies, right? I'm going to enter. So just git checkout /b, and then install dependencies is a new branch. So now it has created and switched to that branch. So you can see it has switched to the branch. So now we are not on this main branch. We are on the install dependencies branch. And this branch is not yet we've not yet pushed this. Which branch is only available on our local machine. It's not available on GitHub yet. So we need to make it available on GitHub, but we'd have to make some changes first so that once we push, we can push the changes along. So let's just install the dependencies. I'll just quickly go through the whole process, right? So I'm going to install Express. So to install, all you didn't do is run npm install. So you can do npm I or npm install, just npm install, then save. Express. I'm installing Express.js. And we are going to need we'll install the other ones. First, let me install npm express. The Express is a package. And now we have a dependencies under our package .json, we have a new package Express. And if you notice, a new log file has been created as well. So this log file just helps us keep the version of the package we installed. Yeah. Then we need to install our transpiler. So npm install -- I'll save this, but I'll install this in the dev dependencies. I'll install this under dev dependencies. So this should be Babel, install Babel preset. Babel preset, Babel preset environment. I'm going to install, Babel. Babel login transform runtime. I'm going to install Babel core. I'm going to install Babel. These are different packages. I'm going to install Babel node. And I'm going to install Babel preset env. So we are installing this, especially the plugin transform runtime, to help us transpile our code from the new style of writing JavaScript to the old style where several server which will be hosting it on, we understand. Right. So yeah, JavaScript updates the way they write some of their syntax almost like every year. Right. But the servers where they host those applications only still understands the old syntax. They've not updated themselves to understand the new syntax, right? So we need a way to be able to convert the new syntax to the old syntax so that those servers can understand. And that is what this Babel does, right? So I'm going to install all of this. Yeah, so now that's added all of these packages and the packages attached to each of them. If you notice, this has been added. No, it's supposed to be added in dev dependencies, for crying out loud. But anyways, they've been added under dependencies, right? We'll move this to dev dependency later on. So they are not supposed to be, because they won't go to production. So if you are moving this to production, these packages won't be necessary. So there's no need having it here. It's good to have it only under development. All right, so now we need to set up our project structure, right? So I'll quickly do this. Do this. There's one more thing I missed. It's been a while. Yeah, part of our project structure, I'll add it to part of our structure. So we have package.json, package lock. We have the Git and node modules, right? You can read about node modules later. Now we need to add where we'll start writing our code. So I'm going to call this source. I'll create a folder. I'm going to call this source. Under source, would have controllers, right? A folder called controllers. Under source would also have a folder called models, which would do our database on. So we're using data structures. So I'll just quickly show you how it looks like and how you can do it on your own. So now under server.js, so under, we'll also create our entry file. Remember, the main entry file here is index.js. So I'm going to make this entry file outside of our source. So I'm going to call this index.js. So now our package.json main from here can access index.js. You get me? So now let's just write some few, set up our server in index.js. So I'm going to import server. I'm going to import Express. We just installed Express from Express. I'm going to do we're going to initialize Express, say app Express with, and then I am going to, and then I'm going to initialize Express to be used when we start doing our routes. So you get a hang of the routes. And so I'll do app.use express.json. And then yeah. What else? And then I'm going to create our default route. So doing an app.get request response. Are you guys still following up? Seems taking too long. So yeah,
Yes, sir.
start this.
Yes, sir.
Right. Let's send. I'm going to put any message here. I'm saying a message. A message. Say congratulations on your first endpoint, first working endpoint. It's not working yet, but it's going to start working. And then we are going to create a listener, right? When we run it, it will be listening for requests that is coming in to our app. So I'm going to call app.listen. I'm going to say give this 6,000. So if it's running on route 6,000, I'm going to console.log. I'm supposed to do this. I'm going to do, yeah. You know what? I'll do this the other way. So I'm going to run this inside, do a callback function. Yeah, so I'm going to run this as project is running at HTTP localhost. Do this. You know what? We're going to change the port as well. Yeah, so let's do a what? Well, let's not complicate the whole thing. Just do 6,000. So now, then also Don't forget to also add like a fallback route. So in case someone requests something from your backend that you have not created yet or that doesn't exist yet, it will fall back to this route. So it gonna do request response here, and then I'm going to return JSON the status. Let me put the status here. So yeah, 404, and then a message. Say this route does not exist. So yeah, so it will fall back to this route if there's ever a case where a route does not exist. It is going to use that route. Or a good way to do this is, yeah, you can do it this way. You can do it this way for error messages. I'll prefer like this way. That way, anyone. So now this, if we try running this now, it will not work. Two reasons. One, because we don't have a running script here. So we don't have a script. We've not created a script that we run this file, right? So whatever we try to run here. So for instance, now I can run test, but test will not work because this is a default. This doesn't make any sense. And secondly, we've not complete our setup for our transpiler, that is our Babel. Right. Babel was supposed to do that on his own, but yeah. So first things first, let's set up our transpiler. I'm just going to do that manually. So I'm going to create a Babel file. Babel RC, right? In our babel.rc file, I'm going to bring in some of those things we've installed. First is the presets. In our presets, I'm going to open up an array again. In that array, I'm going to add babel/preset env. Inside of this, I'm going to open up an object. I'm going to use built-ins. This object is built-ins. No, built-ins. Is that correct? Built-ins. Yep. Set this to false, so it doesn't use any built-in presets. I'm going to add a plugin. The plugin is using transpiling. It's going to be an object. It's going to be an array of arrays, and then inside of this array we have a string called the Babel. What's that? Babel. The package we installed. So I'm going to copy this, break this down here. So now this would help in our transpiling. So this is like our configuration for how the Babel should transpile our code. Right, so now the next thing is to set up our start script, right? Set up our start script. Set up Babel. So I'm going to add some new keys on our start script. The first will be the first will be a build. I'm going to run this build. You'll learn more about the build later on, though. So build, I'm going to call Babel source. And is going to, the destination, it will be, let's see, let's call it destination dist. So what this does is, really, I know this is going too far. If you don't understand, I know some parts, maybe even everything. But what the build does is, the build is for production mostly. So before you, if you want to host this in, say, AWS or in Heroku or the rest, it would have to run this command here. So what the command does, it's going to do what Babel is supposed to do. Go into the source, this source folder we created, and every single folding files and code that has been created is going to convert it to a lower JavaScript syntax so that those servers on those platforms can then read it well and display it, or when new users make a request, it can be able to read our code properly. So that is what this is for. So if I try to run npm run build now, let's see what happens. Okay, well, let's not don't do this to me. We have Babel. We install Babel call. Yeah, Babel CLI. Does it install Babel node? Babel polyfill. Did we install polyfill? Yeah, there's still some Babel stuff that needs to be installed. Babel polyfill. Install Babel as well. Oh, Babel. Yeah, I know. I'm going to do something real quick. So because we're supposed to install this under dev dependencies. So let me see. Even still it's not guarantee Babel command not found. There's no way. It's been a while I did this thing. Anyways, is there any question so far aside from the troubles going on here right now? Is there any problem so far? Come on. Any questions? Of course, that's the problem. So yeah, so if you notice now, so I did run npm build. So the issue was there are some packages that needed to be installed. So aside from installing the Babel CLI, which is like the updated one, you need to install it without the art. So I did a Babel with the art. Let me see. Whose message is that? Oh yes. So whenever you are doing a new Node.js project, you would have to go through all of this process. Exactly. Exactly. Unfortunately, that's it. That's the problem. Although there's a new there's a simplified way of doing this, but it's good to understand it through this process. So it will be easier to understand the simpler ones. But yeah, you would have to go through each of these processes, except you don't want to install, you want to write it in the old way. For instance, what I mean the old way, if you look at what has been built, right? So when I did the build, it converted it to the lower JavaScript syntax, the old one. So if you notice, if I click on, we've not created any code yet. If I create a code, you will see the difference. You see the difference. But yeah, you would have to do it all the time. So now let us set up our start script so we can continue with other ones. Our dev script. Yeah, so dev. So I'm going to create the start run dev, yeah. That's to run it in development mode. And I'm going to do Babel. Did I install this Babel node? I think I did. So Babel node / our entry file, which is index.js. The Babel index.js. If I run npm run dev, yeah, it's supposed to return an error missing parameter, blah, blah, blah. What's another one? Take a break once. I move this here. Should I not? I will move this inside of source. Supposed to move it inside of source. So our entry file is inside of source, and I'll just update this here. So entry will be -source. And this will be -source -source index. Then if I delete this, again, now we have index.js inside of us. So this is what I was saying about. Now this is the same thing as what we have here, but this is cleaner, as you can see, and it's using the latest import syntax. But if you notice, it's using the old import syntax. We have var, right? But it's the same thing as we have Yeah, but this is what the server server that will host it can be able to read. The server won't be able to read this because this is too new. So if I do, let me do node dist slash index.js. There's a problem here. Even problem. Missing parameter name. There's a missing parameter name. Welcome to the real world. So let's look up from the top. This is import express from express. Yep. Then we have app.use equals express app.use express.json. Yeah, something is wrong. Yeah. Is there? Shouldn't be right. Use express.json. Hmm. But debug this a little bit. Oh, my bad, my bad. Yeah. So there's a problem on this section, I guess. Let me do that again. Yep. No. Yep. So there's a problem on this section. I think the problem is like I said, the response here before. Since it's an error, it's not it shouldn't be this. So it should be, guess that should be response dot status, and dot for that send, and then would have just message here. I'm going to delete this. And run this, I'm going to run the build again. I'm going to run build. I'm going to run this stat script in the build. I know it's still there. Why is it still there? Something is not right here. Something ain't right here. Where's same parameter name? Status send. Oh, that's why. So we don't have the message is supposed to be a string value. You see, so simple errors like this can cause a lot of problems. That's one thing. I'm going to delete this. I am going to use it again. Going to run. Oh no, what? What? Why are you doing this to me? What is now wrong with you? So many errors in one. Oh. Hey, well, we'll get back to this update. Oh, we don't even need it now, really. That's the point. We'll get back to it later on. There's a problem there. I can't, but we don't really need it, really. So I'm going to just I'm going to build, retranspile, run. So you notice it's not running, it's not listening, it's running on 6,000. So if we copy this port and paste it on here, what? Yeah. And then put a slash. The what? God. happening? What is happening? It is supposed to run app.get /request response. Status and just send. Yeah, that's what's supposed to happen. That's the reason. That's the reason. Yeah, so port 6000, I have a port running on 6000 already. That's why I just forgot. But an unsafe port. So you can still use 6000. It might just work for you, but for me, I don't think that I have a running project that's running on or still currently running on that port. So you can't use one port for the same project on your local machine. Yeah. So yeah, so we've been able to compile, right? We've been able to compile and we're able to run our compiled folder, and it's running. So now we are not going to be running the compile in our local machine. This will be tedious. So we can't be doing the remove and all the time, right? So we'll do a development script. Development script will be the one that we run. I will keep running. Right, so let's set up the development script. Let's quickly do that so we can move into the more meaty part. Did I see someone raise? Okay. So we did install. We need to install. We need to install either Barbell Watch or NodeMon. So what happens is if we currently run, say any changes on our server, on our local server, yeah, we don't need to run a new build each time and then restart the server before the changes will reflect. It's not going to make sense, restarting the server every time we make a change, right? So that is where we either have Babel Watch, or NodeMon comes in. So you can either use either of the two, Babel Watch or NodeMon. What it does is they watch over your changes you've made in your code. So any changes you've made in your code, it watches over it and then automatically compiles and restarts the server for you. And we are going to run it under this, under the dev. So let's just quickly, but I'm going to use NodeMon. You can use cloud, you can use more, Babel Watch. You can install Babel Watch, but let me use NodeMon. I'm going to install NodeMon here. And I am going to attach NodeMon here. I'm going to do NodeMon exec. I install Babel Node as well. Install Babel Node too. So yeah, NodeMon exec. I'm gonna do with dash that's exec Babel Node, and then server. So if I run npm run dev, that should start it. Yep. So you notice, so we installed NodeMon and Babel Node that will help us. NodeMon we help us in watching for any changes we've made, and Babel Node we do the transpile. We execute. So once there's a change, it executes Babel Node. Babel Node transpiles the code, and automatically Node will take it up and automatically refresh and rerun it again. So you just confirm this is still working. Yes, it's still working. So if I go to say index.js and I make a change, say congratulations on your first endpoint, you are doing well. Notice what happens. It restarts. So it restarts the changes and started Babel Node all over again. And so we don't need to rerun anything. So if I refresh this now, we get you're doing well. And now we don't want to use browser, right? Since we're not doing front end. I'm going to use our Postman. So if I post this on Postman and a GET request, because this is a GET request, so I'm using a GET request here. And I run this, I get, yeah, congratulations on your first endpoint. You are doing well. So you are on, once you've been able to get to this point, you are on a good track. You are ready. You are very, very ready to do other things. Yeah, so now let us quickly do the other ones. So we want to move on to the more gritty part now. But before then, I'm going to cancel out of this and I'm going to push these changes. I'm going to remove this. I'm going to push these changes. I'm going to git add, git commit, and a message say install dependencies and set up Babel. I'm going to enter. Now it's on our GitHub history. I'm going to push this to GitHub. And once you do so, now this is the point where I need you to understand as well. So once you have created a new branch, and then you have not pushed that branch to local yet, to the remote yet, whenever you try pushing, you will receive this message. So it tells you the current branch install dependencies has no upstream branch. To push the current branch and set remote as upstream, use this. So you would have to copy this and paste it, as simple as that, and it pushes it for you. So next time you push, it won't give you that message. So if I go back to GitHub now, I see install dependencies has been pushed, right? This is a new branch. Now, this is what you do once you've done this. Create a pull request, right? Or if you go back to this, sometimes you might not see that message. You might not see this message. So instead, what you will do is click on pull request by the side, or at the top bar here, click on pull request, click on new pull request. Then you will see either you want to merge from this branch to this branch. So we are always trying to merge to main. So whenever you're raising a branch, try for this project, make sure this is always main branch. The base is always main. And make sure this one is the branch you want to merge. So now for us, we want to merge install dependencies. Now, if you look through the changes, you see some of the things we've made, the changes we've made is all there. And now create pull request. So under this pull request, you can title this. Sometimes you can use the same commits and explain the things you did, right? Just explain the things you did. And then click on create pull request. So once you've done that, once that has been created, you will see, once it loads up, you will see this. Next thing you want to do, once you've added me as contributor under settings, you will then assign me here. So under assignees, you have the option to assign me to review this. So you can assign me to review this. So and my name would appear there. You can assign me. Do not merge your pull request. Do not merge it. Right? I'm going to be the one to merge it for you. I'm going to review it and merge it for you. Hope that's noted, right? Are you guys still there? Oh yeah, John is still there. Okay. So I'm going to merge this because I'm doing this, of course. So I'm just going to merge this. Now let's go back to the code. Now we want to create. The next step now is we want to create a since we are not going to use database for this project, we want to use a JavaScript object to persist our data, right? So I'll go under Trello, under my Trello board here. I'm going to move this to done, since we've done, and I'm going to create a new card called create data persist, right? Data persist object to replace database. So I'm going to do this. I'm going to put this under doing section. Now I'm going back to the code. I'm going to check out to a new branch. So always do this. Check out a new branch again. For this particular one, I wanted to set up data, I'll say, should I call it database? Data, yeah, anyways, I'll call it database. So set up database. So I've moved to a new branch. So this is a different one entirely. So under our models, I'm going to create a new file. I'm going to call it, should I call it diary.js. So under diary, I am going to tell you what I'm going to create. Should I use a class or a function? Who has any question? I think someone was trying to unmute. Sarah, is that you? Do you have any? You have any question?
No, it's my network that is unstable.
I'm going to do this. I'm going to use a class instead, right? So I'm going to do diary class, creating the constructor for this class. Instead of the constructor would have is the diary. These are diaries, right? So you can use an object, you can use a class, anyone, it's easier for you. And we are going to create, so because we'll be doing a create, we'll be doing a find one, a find all, an update, and a delete for each of the diary we put in. So we are going to create each of these object, right? So first our create data, we'll put in the data create, and I'm going to create a new reflection. So new reflection, new diary. So the diary would have ID. So what ID should we use? So you can use any ID form. You can even use date as your ID, but easy way. You can use another package that somebody has created for ID purpose. So I'm going to it's called UUID. So I'm going to install a new package. I'm going to install a new package called UUID. Oh yeah. UI npm install UI. No, I knew something else. So now because we've installed UUID, I'm going to import UUID. Yeah, so import UUID from UUID. Then inside this, I'll do UUID. I'll do a UUID.v4. So if you want to understand how to use some packages, all you just need to do is access the package on npm, right? So if I go to npm, click on UUID and UUID npm, I get this documentation. So how to install it, how to import it. Yeah, how to import it, and I think I did it wrong. Seems they've updated it. I'm going to make a change here on how to import it. And then how to use it, right? So I did a, is that code? Where are you? I did a .v4, which is something, and you're creating a random version 4 UUID. So you can do a v5, there's v7 up to v8 now. So just how long the ID should be. I'm going to do a v4. I'm going to do this instead .v4. So that's what you should do. If you don't understand certain library, you can access it online. So that's for the ID of the diary. We are creating the ID to identify it so that in case we want to delete and the rest. Success. So success is would be a string. So string success and or an empty string, right? So failure, say failure data.failure or an empty string, right? Say plan, say data.plan or an empty string. Now we want to know when this diary was created and when it was modified, just like normal database. So I'm going to say created date to be, we can use a new date property, which is inbuilt, right? And I'm going to do new date property, right? So I can say new date. Or you can use moment, but moment is too big. It's too big for this project. New date, yeah. So modified date, modified date. So new date as well. This is in mute. And then close this up. So we'll do a this dot reflection, right? That's this dot diaries, which we have here. So these are diaries dot push. So we want to add every time we create a new diary, this will run and push the new reflection, the new, so I'm calling this new reflection, and then we return new diary. Yep. Diaries, which is the constructor, new diary, which is whatever, when we create a new instance of diaries, and then we return diary. Next, we are going to create another class property. This time will be find one. So find one will be the ID, which is the ID of the diary, and then we'll return this dot new diary. So I say new diaries. Use these dot diaries, right? Diaries. Dot find. Do find JavaScript property and do diary. So for each diary, find the diary that the diary dot ID is equals to the ID we passed on these params here. And then this is for find one. So the next one will be for find all. I'm going to do just to be simple, just return this dot diaries, all the diaries. Now we need to do an update. Now this is way more complex. So this will be ID, the ID of the diary we want to update, and the data, the new data we want to put in. Right. So first diary equal to. So to get the diary, we need to find one. So we need to call this property. See property? We need to call this function, this class function. And then we get the particular ID we want to update, and then use the data to update it. So this dot find one. So we call this that instance find one, then constant index dot index. Yeah, we'll get the. All right, the diaries from diaries, right? Dot index of this diary. So we want to get the index of this diary. So what this means by index is in this array, if you learn about arrays, you know arrays is like 0, 1, 2, 0, 1, 2, 3. So 0, 1. So the first item starts with 0. So the first item is a 0. The first item index is a 0. It doesn't start with 1. So if you want to get, so that index is what it is pointing to. So we are trying to get the index of this particular diary with this ID, right? Now this is after we've gotten the index, we'll do an update, right, of what we want to update, right? So this dot diaries, then the index of that from the index. So we are now picking out the particular diary we want to update. That success first. We are adding a new success. Some of the things that the user will be updating all the time is success, failure, and plan. They won't update this, and they won't update this. So that is what we just want to update. So data.success. So data, which they are coming here, or if nothing, if no data.success, then use the success, right? And then this dot diaries for, let's do for failure, index dot failures. Is it failures? No, failure. So equals to data failure. Or if there's no failure in that, then we do diaries. This should not be. This should be. No. This is a mistake here. So diary. So we are calling this diary from here. So if failure is empty, if the user did not update failure, then just use the old one. So use the old one. That will be diary.success, diary.failure. We are going to do this for, just copy and paste. We do this for plan as well. So plan. Do this for modify date. So we are going to modify the date since they've updated that diary. So we'll do modify date. I'll pick this from here. Modified, index to modified will be equal to new date. So this will pick the current date. Now I'm going to return these dot diaries, the index. So see the index, how it looks like. So that's, and one last one, it'll be delete. Delete. So we are doing diary equal to this dot find one ID, which is the ID, plus index plus this dot diaries dot index of diary. It's almost the same thing like the last one. Now this dot diaries dot splice, so it takes out what's it called? It takes out that item. So this returns like a array. And then we want to delete what is inside that array. So index. No. Sorry. This returns the index. So we want to delete that particular index from the diaries. So this splice takes the index and would not delete any other one aside of that. It won't delete any other data inside of the diaries, only that of the index. That is what this one stands for. Now I'm going to return empty. Just return empty. It's fine. So export default our new class, new diary. Yep, new diary. No, it's a class. Any question on this part? What time is it? Jeez. I've taken a lot of time. Jesus Christ. We're supposed to do this like 45 minutes. I know it's a lot, but gradually you start getting used to it. Definitely start getting one last part. So there's one last thing left. I'm going to add this, right? And I'm going to I'm going to commit commit this, and I'm going to use, say, what's it called? Setting the diary database. And I'm going to push this, copy this, push. Going to go to GitHub, going to pull request, going to contain setting up the data diary database. I'm going to create a pull request. But at that one, notes, I'm going to create a new branch, checkout. This time, what we'll be doing next is we'll be setting up the controller and endpoints, right? So that we can be able to test everything. Awesome. Nope. Git. So now I'm going to merge this, confirm merge. All right, so now we are going to create endpoint that we create a diary, get all diaries, get a diary, update a diary, delete a diary, which is what you need on that project. So you have an idea of how to go about it from here. So on the I'll create that controller under our controllers, right? So under controllers, but let's just run this to make sure this is still running. Yeah, still running. So under our controllers, I'm going to create a new file, and I'm going to call it diaries.js. So under diary.js, I'm going to import our model. So import diary model from, I'm going to move out of this folder, going to models diary. So if I highlight this now, I can see my new diary class, the constructor I created. Now I'm going to create a class here as well. Is it a class? No. A class-like kind of controller. You can call it any, you can use it anyway. Or tell you what, I'm going to do a function instead. It's quite isolated. So I'm going to do a function. So I'm going to do export here, constant create diary. Right, instead of this diary, instead I'm going to put a request response. And create function again. Okay. I'm going to do try catch here, just to catch the errors in case we have any error. Now, I am going to, in this, we'll be accepting success from the request of body. We'll be accepting failure. I will be accepting, what's the other one? Plan, right? The request dot body. So now we are going to do a little bit of condition here. So if no success, is entered, if there is no failure, and if there is no plan, there's no success, no plan, then return res.status, return an error of 400 dot send a message that says says all fields are required. Are you guys following? Are you guys still there? Oh yeah, John is still there. Who else is still there? This is status. Right, David is still there. Good. Good. Okay. Return rest of status. Something is wrong here. Identifier context. Return of status. Oh yeah. There's no point. There's like no point. So our diary. So now we want to now create it. So this will return if any of them is empty. So we now want to create. So we'll do a diary model dot create the request dot body. And then we return a response dot status dot, it's going to be create so 201 and then send diary. So if there's an error, what should you do? What should I do again using an error? Of course, return an error. How come I don't? There's no way. Yeah, so it's an error. It's going to be a server error, yeah. So going to return a server error. So we are doing the same thing. So we return rest.status 500 dot send, and maybe there's no need for a message here, so it does do error server error. I'm going to concatenate this and put in error in so we can see the error. Now before we move on to the next, I just want to test this out, right? So are we ready to test this out? In our server.js, we are going to create we are going to import our controller. So diaries. Controllers diaries, right? So inside of controller, I know we created create diary. So if I go back and create diary and I highlight it, you can see create diary there. So we can then create a post request. So the post, and I'm going to do an API v1. Like I said, this will help you understand again the routing, the versioning of the routing. I said it has to be API v1, right? So this is what I mean. So API v1, I'm going to do diaries. So inside of this, I'm going to put diary. Now, let's run this. So post request. I'm going to bring this down here. I'm going to create a new request. Paste this, take this, put it here, put this here, put this, and change this to a post and run it. Server error type cannot read properties of undefined success. Do you know why this is returning this error? Can anyone tell me why? If you are following, can you tell me why?
Because we are not passing in any data. We are meant to use a middleware in Express for that actually.
Good, good. And nice you brought out the middleware. Although in this case, we won't use any middleware. We'll just go directly to the controller. But you are correct. We are not passing any data. So I'm going to pass in a JSON data here. So remember, it's a raw and JSON. So I'm going to pass in the JSON data, and we are passing in success. So success is a string. We know we're also passing in failure. Failure is also a string. Also passing in, what's the other one? Plan. Plan is also a string. So I would do this, but I won't put anything, right? And I'm going to send. So let's see what happens. You notice where this error is coming from? Who notice where the error is coming from?
Yes, from the controller.
Yeah, so remember this condition we did here. So this error you see here is what we are having here. So because each of them is empty, that is why. So I'm going to do this. I'm going to put in success. So this is a success. Or this is a fail. And I'm going to run this again without putting in any plan. And let's see what happens. Uh-oh. So yeah, so there will be some validation you need to do, of course. But I'll leave the validation to you. You have to think about the validation. So it's going ahead to create this. That is why there's an error on on this very import we did here from UID. We'll get to it, but it's going ahead. It wants to create it, but it won't just. So this is a plan. Now let's look at that error. What's the cause of the error? So it says UID is not a function. So you see something is wrong here. So if I go to UID and how I imported this thing, then there's a mistake on that import. So it's UID. It's supposed to be opening braces, even though they didn't put it here. That's silly. So do UID, no, Siri, UID before, and let's see. It's not a function, so. Yeah. So you can try. There sometimes the documentations can be messy, right? They didn't look how well they are using the old one, I guess. The old one is this way. They didn't specify how it is now with the new one, but you have to figure it out your own. So something like this, yeah. Yeah. So this has been created. So we just created a new diary that is saved to our local JavaScript object and not a database. And you can see the created date and the modified date. Right? So this is what you do. And then, but then this is not just acceptable on the project, right? You would have to validate it. And that's where that middleware thing comes in, where John mentioned. So you use your middleware to validate the function. So just in case, for instance, I'll give you a hint. Say in here, success is supposed to be a string, right? So what if I do this and I typed in just space alone and I send it? You see what happens here? Because I'm not doing any validation. It's creating an empty string. So you would have to make sure this doesn't happen. Validate this, making sure people don't just send an empty or spaced string, right? So all of that is important. So I can say, I want to put in an I right now. This is not supposed to send, it's not supposed to add, or it adds, you see. So that's not supposed to be. So that's where validation comes in. So make sure you validate properly. Right, now we've done for create, right? Let us do the next one, which should be the next one, the get all and get one. So before then, I'm going to close this up and I'm going to add this, right? And GitHub add and GitHub commit this change we just made. So I'm going to call this create diary. And I'm going to, you can decide to push now or you can decide to push later. But I'm going to push this now. But I won't create any pull requests yet because I'm not done with the other controller, the other controller. Now, if I go back to diaries, I want to create another. We want to find all. I'm going to export constant and I'm going to say get all diary. Or say get diaries, in fact. So this is going to be an arrow function, then request response, and then I'm going to do a try catch. I'm going to just copy this, paste this here, and I'm going to do forget all, just going to do a diaries equal to diary model dot find all. Then I'm going to return. So find all is that constructor inside our class, right? No, constructor is the instance of the class, the find all instance of the class that we create. So I'm going to return a res.status. Just the status be an OK 200 and then send the diaries. And then we are going to create this to a route. So if I go back to index.js, I'm going to copy this, paste it. I'm going to turn this to get request since we are getting. And I'm going to use diaries. Right. So I'm going to import this as well. So say get diaries. And I'm going to use this diary. So if I start the server again, and then I go to this and I create a new one, I copy this, paste this right here, change it to get, which is get request already, and I click on say get, say get that is going to be empty. So I create this new thing here. Yeah, so it's because it's a temporary. Yeah, I forgot that it started the server. So because once you start the server, once you restart the server, everything will clear out from the local object. So just so you know, so if I send this now, I get 1. If I add more, say plan, yeah. And this is a plan there. And I'm going to get 3. This is a plan there. This is the plan here, and this is a plan. So yeah, get diaries work. Now we need to do get one diary. So I'm just going to rewrite this again. I'm going to copy and paste. I'm going to get diary. So for get diary, I am going to say diary model find one, which is an instance of our class. Find one with that ID. So I'm going to So forget diary because we need the ID to find one. We are going to pass a parameter from ID. Yeah, so I'm going to call this ID equal to request.param. So request.parameter is the syntax for getting parameter. You see how the parameter is being structured too. I'm going to pass this now to find one, right? So find one will then take the ID and do the job we told it to do. This is still going to be 200, right? But then there's something we need to do. Just one simple validation though. If the ID is empty, we need to make sure we have something to handle it. So let's do that. So if no ID, right, if no ID, we are going to return a response status of 404 and send the message. Send the message diary not found. And that is going to handle that for us. Now we are going to make this, put this in our entry endpoint. We're going to create an endpoint for it. I'm going to copy and paste this, and this is going to be a get, but we are going to change this to diary. And because we are accepting the params, we're going to put in a slash and a colon and then an ID. So this is what we'll call params. So now this will be expecting the params. I'm going to rename this. I'm going to import diary from the function we created, diary. So now this function will be looking out for whatever ID whatever number we pass in here. Right, so let's go ahead and test this out. I'm going to copy this. I'm going to still be a get request. I'm going to put in a diary and put in an ID. So if I can choose any of the ID. So if I choose the last one, for instance, copy this ID, put it here. I run this. Still empty. And here and there. So I say, let me copy this one and I paste it here. So you see, we get it. If I copy the other one, if I copy the second one and put it here, I get the other one. So we can now get one single ID. I hope we are following, yeah? And so the next one now we need is update and delete. But before then, I'm going to add and commit this into GitHub. So I'm going to git add, git commit. I don't want to do this here. So git add, so git commit, and I'm saying get all diaries and get one diary. I'm going to push this. So like I said before, because we've pushed the upstream branch, whatever pushes we make afterwards on that same branch, we would not need to do that again. Yeah, we won't need to. Now the next one is the update. So update might look a bit. I'm just going to copy this, paste this, and get update diary. Then I'm going to do a little bit of, I'm going to leave this one here. I am going to make changes to this as well. So we're going to find one. And then we are going to do some validation on that one we found, and then we're going to update. So yeah, we need the params as well, params. And then we're going to find one, yeah. So find one, yeah, find one diary. I'm going to do it diary equal to we call diary model.find one with the ID from the params. And then if no diary, right? So if this is returned and is empty, return a 404 message saying diary diary does not exist. And then we no need to find, we need to do this one here again. And then if it exists, it means we can then save it. So constant update diary diary model dot updates the instance from our class. We are passing the ID and we are passing the request dot body. Then we return the updated diary as an OK. So yeah. So we create a route for it, app dot. So it's going to be an app dot app dot put to app or app dot it's an app, either app dot put or app dot patch, but because we are not, so we are changing. So patch as patch is like something that exists and you are just altering the detail. But put is like you're putting something inside of it. You're putting a new item, then new field or a new item, right? So because the diary already exists, right? All we are just doing is we are changing this. So we are not like putting a new field entirely, putting a new thing entirely. So we are going to go do it as a patch and not a push. So it's going to be a patch. We are patching that thing, and it's going to be API / v1 / diary / ID. All right, so I'm going to do update diary, yeah. So it's going to update yeah, so it has imported automatically. So now let's test this out. So I'm going to create a new request. I'm going to paste this here. And then I'm now going to carry this, paste this here. And let me see if we still have, oh, it's empty. No, it's not like it's empty. We haven't started the server yet, which means it will be empty. I'm going to paste this again. And I'm going to copy this ID, take it to this, change this to patch, change this ID. And I'm going to run this without putting anything. I'm not going to see the error. So it says cannot patch, blah, blah, blah. So in the body, raw JSON, and I'm going to copy this from here, paste this here, see what happens. Something is wrong. Cannot patch. Why? Oh, for not found. So it's saying the route does not exist, which is, yeah, which is correct. So we are doing duplication here. So I'm going to copy this, I'm going to send this. Then I'm going to make changes to it. So we are here. So if I try getting this very diary now, and I come down here, I paste this right here, post this here, I get the updated one. So let me create the new one. Say this is plan there. Say this is John. John was here. I send this for John's ID and I go to John. I paste this here on the patch. And then I leave this as John was here. But then I say, who is there again? David was here. And Sarah was here. All of these just answering Bible names here. Was here. Everybody and all right, so if I try to get one, if I try to get this one now, I guess Sarah was here, David was here, John was here. So we've done update. Now let's do the last one, the delete. Delete, then we call it delete. So for delete, almost the same thing. We're also doing some params as well. So I'm just going to copy this and paste this here. I'm going to say this is delete diary. Right? So because the param is correct, we are finding one diary correct as well. If diary does not exist, say diary does not exist, and diary with ID does not exist. Now we are going to delete. So for delete, we really don't, well, anyways, delete, I'm gonna call the delete reference. So take the delete ID, we only need the ID, don't need any requested body. So this will be the reference. It's a tool for reference as well. So for delete. Now we're going to create a route for this delete route. So it's going to be /API /v1 /diary /ID delete diary. I'm going to go down here, import this delete diary. And now we are going to create the new one, paste this here, take this, paste this here as well. And then look if the ID, if this data is still there, it's not there, it's empty. So we are going to post the new one. So John was here. And then check it. Then it's a delete request. I'm going to send this. Empty. Diary does not exist. So if I try to get this now, it's empty still. So we can just make it more meaningful by sending a message instead. Say, Yeah. You send a message to. Or you know what we would do? A diaries, right? So diaries equals to final. And it's by this. Once we deleted it, we're going to show everything inside the diary. So I'm going to just remove reference. So let's do this. Let's add to a post. John was here. David was here. Sarah was here. And then copy this Sarah's own part. And I'm going to delete Sarah out. So if I send this now, okay. Okay, so that's not supposed to happen. I said I was deleted, but we need to make it show. So let me result start this JSON. To make it social. So I'm going to do JSON, yeah. So I just have this JSON, it'll be an object. It's gonna call message. Say diary deleted successfully. And then inside of this would have diaries. So I'm trying to show this here. But I see those data are still there. It's not there. Sarah was here. David was here. John, yeah. And let's delete John this time around. Yep. It's deleted successfully. Now John is not here. John is not here again. Everything's so that's basically everything you need to do on that project. I just did in one day. So yeah, that means you can do it. It's I'm going to push this. It's not the end. I'm just going to just push it, git commit update and delete. Sorry. Push this up as well. So I'm going to create a pull request, and I'm going to merge it. So are there any questions so far? So this is the end. It's publicly available if you want to go back to it and take a look. And what's it called? The recording will also be available as well. Is there any question from anybody? Question? All right. Okay, John. Yeah, John, go ahead.
Oh, yes, sir. So, based on the project that you gave us, are you going to give us like a, a model for the parcel? You know, you asked us to create a parcel. So I was thinking, what type of data would you be passing into it, just like the way you did this?
Yeah, so you can do that on your own, come up with the data on your own, but as usual, you start getting the hang of the data you need as you go ahead with it. But definitely you need an ID, and maybe you need a create date and modified date. But the rest is up to you to decide what datas and data type you would need.
Okay, sir.
Yeah. Any other question?
Yeah,
Right,
so
you
can you like
yeah.
recommend probably articles or materials we can go through to like also understand this better?
All right, sure.
Like for us that don't know like have any idea about JavaScript at all, things like that.
All right, sure. I'll send you some resource.
All right, thank you.
Yeah. And just one quick one though. You'll be doing some of what I didn't do yet. Validation and tests. I didn't do TD then test with Mocha and Chai. So you would have to integrate test, set up test, integrate it, and create a test suite for the controllers you did here to make sure they are working properly. Yeah, I know. Hey, boy, you can do it. I'll send you a video. I think I did a video one time on test. I think I did a recording one time. Yeah, I'll send you that. So no question? Any other question? So in that case, if no questions, this will be the end of the session. Yeah, thank you, John. I hope this will be very helpful in getting started and doing and getting to this point, or getting the hang of everything you need. Yeah, all right, guys. I'm going to stop sharing right now, and I'm going to stop the recording as well.